Welcome to our programming channel. Today we are going to see Response.Redirect method in ASP.NET. Response.Redirect changes the URL in the browser's address bar. Now first we will add a web form. Right click here, add new item, web form, webform1.aspx, add. This is webform 1 and add another webform. Right click, add new item, webform, webform2.aspx, add. In webform1.aspx, we are taking one button. Now double click on this button. In click event of this button, response.redirect webform2.aspx, and in webform2.aspx, this is webform 2. If we see in browser, now in URL here we can see webform1.aspx, and if we click on this button, now we are redirected on webform2.aspx, and in browser there is a change in URL. Now it is showing webform2.aspx in URL. In this way, response.redirect changes the URL in the browser's address bar. It shows the real URL where it redirects the request in the user's web browser. Response.redirect sends us to a new page. It enables us to see the new redirected URL where it is redirected in the browser. Now we are adding third waveform. Right click, add new item, waveform, webform3.aspx, add. And in design, this is waveform 3. And in waveform 1.aspx, here waveform 3.aspx, response.redirect waveform 3.aspx. Now if we see in browser, now here we can see waveform 1.aspx in URL. If we click on this button, now we are redirected on waveform 3.aspx, and here it is showing waveform 3.aspx in URL. Previously, when we were redirected from waveform 1 to waveform 2, at that time it was showing waveform 2.aspx in URL, and now it is showing waveform 3.aspx in URL. In this way, it shows real URL where it redirects the request in the user's web browser. Thus, we can see new redirected URL in the browser. When we want that user can able to see where he is going or where page is redirecting, at that time we can use response.redirect method. Response.redirect updates the address bar and adds it to the browser history. So URL can be copied or bookmarked because redirected URL is showing in browser. So when we want that user can able to see redirected URL, at that time we can use response.redirect method. And now here we can see waveform 3.aspx, and if we click on this back button, we can see waveform 1.aspx in URL, and here we can see waveform 3.aspx. In this way URL is updated. Thus, because of new redirected URL, address bar updates and adds it to browser history. So URL can be copied or bookmarked. It transfers current page request to another .aspx or .html page on the same server and also on different server. So we can use response.redirect method when we want to navigate between pages of same server, and also when we want to navigate between pages which are present on different server and domain. We have redirected from waveform 1 to waveform 2, and we have redirected from waveform 1 to waveform 3. These pages are present in the same project or present in the same server. Now, in waveform 1.aspx, in click event of button, here Response.Redirect http google.com. Now, here we are trying to navigate or redirect from this page to google.com. If we see, click on this button, now we can see there is no any error. We can easily redirected from waveform 1 to google.com. In this way, we can use response.redirect method for navigate or redirect in between pages which are present on the same server, or to navigate or redirect between pages which are present on different server and domain. Response.redirect has a round trip. So response.redirect is slower than server.transfer. Here, right click, select inspect, select network, click on this button. Now we can see here waveform 1 and waveform 2. Click on waveform 1. In headers, we can see request URL waveform1.aspx, request method post status code 302 found, and here response failed to load response data, and here in waveform2.aspx, request URL waveform2.aspx, request method get status code 200 OK. Here response, this is waveform 2, and here this is waveform 2. So here we can see two entries or two requests. First for waveform 1.aspx and status code 302 found, and second for waveform 2.aspx with status code 200 OK. In this way we can see two entries or two requests. Here first request is get request. At that time we get waveform1.aspx, or we can see webform1.aspx page in browser. When user click on button which is present on webform1.aspx, at that time browser sends a post request to webform1 that we have to navigate on webform2.aspx. Now server starts executing webform1 and life cycle of webform1 starts. All events like pre-init, init, load starts executing, and when click event executes, at that time here we have line response.redirect webform2.aspx. So at that time, instead of redirecting on webform2.aspx, server sends status code 302 found. With this code, server informs browser to send new request to the server for webform2.aspx. So browser sends new request to webform2.aspx. This is first request for webform2. So this is get request. Server receives this request. Then process is done by server and HTML response sends to browser. So in browser we can see webform2.aspx and in URL we can see webform2.aspx. Now status code is 200 OK. In this way response.redirect has round trip. So response.redirect method is slower than server.transfer method. Response.redirect is a client process. Browser have idea about redirection because redirection happens at client by browser. Redirection happens at client side, so it is a client side process. Thus response.redirect happens because of browser, so browser have idea about redirection and we can see change in URL in browser. Response.redirect doesn't preserve value of query string and form variables. In webform1.aspx, we are taking one hyperlink navigate URL webform2.aspx. Okay, and in source here question mark question mark value is equal to welcome today, and here come on webform2, and here this is the value of query string. From this hyperlink we can navigate on webform2, and in webform2 in page load event if request.queryString value not equal to null, then response.redirect webform3.aspx. When we click on this hyperlink, which is present on webform 1, then in page load event of webform 2, query string value will be checked, and then response.redirect will be happened, and in webform 3, in page load event, here we will take a label id lbl check text blank. If request.queryString value not equal to null, then lblcheck.text is equal to request.queryString value. Else lblcheck.text is equal to sorry no value. Here we can check if values of query string can be preserved with response.redirect method or not. Click on this hyperlink, come on webform 2. Now we are navigated or redirected on webform 2, and in page load event, here we get value of query string welcome today. Currently we are on webform 2, and with response.redirect method we are redirecting on webform 3. Now here query string value is welcome today. Now in page load event of webform 3, here we can see we are not getting query string value. Now we are on webform 3 and we are not getting the value, so we get the message sorry no value. In this way, with response.redirect, here we cannot get the value of query string. So value of query string cannot be preserved with response.redirect method. That's all for response.redirect method in ASP.NET. In our channel, there are regular uploads of programming related videos. So for latest updates, please subscribe the channel and like and share videos. Thanks for watching.